lost in Whispering Pines Forest. The sun was setting over the small town of Elder Grove, Wisconsin, casting long shadows across the quiet streets. It was a crisp autumn evening on October 15th, with temperatures dropping to a cool 48 degrees Fahrenheit. The air carried the earthy scent of fallen leaves and pine needles, creating an atmosphere both peaceful and slightly eerie. Before we begin, tell me, where are you listening from, and what time is it there? Michael Carter, a 32-year-old forest ranger with 10 years of experience, had been conducting his usual evening patrol through Whispering Pines Forest, a vast woodland spanning over 20 acres. The forest earned its name from the gentle rustling sound made by its towering pines, a sound that locals believed carried whispers from past generations. As Michael approached the northern section of the forest near Bear Claw Ridge, he noticed something unusual about the weather patterns. The wind had suddenly shifted direction, coming from the northeast instead of the usual southwest. This change in wind direction often preceded unexpected storms in the area, but today's forecast had predicted clear skies throughout the night. At precisely 6:17 p.m., Michael's radio crackled to life with a routine check-in call from the main station. "Ranger Carter, this is Station Alpha. How do you copy?" The voice came through clearly despite the growing distance between them. "Station Alpha, this is Ranger Carter. I copy loud and clear," Michael responded calmly, maintaining his professional tone. Continuing his patrol along Trail 7B, Michael encountered Emily Thompson, a local botanist who had been studying rare plant species in the area. She was crouched near a cluster of autumn gold mushrooms, carefully documenting their growth patterns. The two exchanged greetings, discussing recent observations about the forest's ecosystem. Emily mentioned noticing an unusually high number of migrating birds passing through earlier that day, which could indicate changing weather patterns. As darkness began to settle over the forest, Michael decided to take a different route back to the main station, one that passed through Moonlit Hollow, a section of the forest known for its dramatic rock formations illuminated by moonlight. The path was familiar to him, having walked it countless times during his tenure as a ranger. However, at around 7:34 p.m., Michael's GPS device began acting strangely, showing erratic signals and occasional blackouts. He tried resetting the device several times, but the problem persisted. The digital compass spun wildly, unable to determine true north. This phenomenon wasn't entirely uncommon in Whispering Pines Forest, where dense tree coverage sometimes interfered with electronic devices. Concerned, but not yet alarmed, Michael pulled out his traditional map and compass, tools he always carried as backup. Consulting these instruments, he confirmed his location near the base of Whispering Cliff, approximately 3 miles from the nearest road. The cliff itself stood majestically against the darkening sky, its jagged edges silhouetted by the fading sunlight. Suddenly, the temperature dropped significantly, causing Michael to pause and reconsider his situation. The wind had picked up, carrying with it a strange, almost musical quality, like distant bells ringing softly in the background. This particular sound was one of the forest's many mysteries, often reported by visitors but never fully explained. Deciding caution was warranted, Michael activated his emergency beacon, sending a signal to the main station indicating his current coordinates and status. "Station Alpha, this is Ranger Carter. My GPS is malfunctioning. I'm proceeding cautiously toward Road 45. Over," he transmitted steadily, keeping his voice calm despite the developing circumstances. As he continued walking, the forest seemed to grow darker than normal, even though the moon was nearly full. Shadows lengthened unnaturally, dancing across the ground in ways that defied logic. Michael's flashlight beam revealed patches of silver frost forming on the trees despite the relatively mild temperature. At approximately 8:12 p.m., Michael encountered a group of 4 hikers returning from an extended camping trip. They were led by David Peterson, an experienced outdoorsman from Chicago who frequently visited Whispering Pines Forest. The group appeared disoriented, claiming they had lost track of time while exploring some lesser-known trails. Michael offered guidance, directing them toward the safest route back to their vehicles. During this encounter, Michael noticed something peculiar about the hikers' descriptions of their journey. They spoke of seeing lights moving through the trees, lights that seemed to follow specific patterns rather than being random reflections or fireflies. This observation aligned with stories told by previous visitors, tales of mysterious luminous phenomena within the forest. After ensuring the hikers were heading in the right direction, Michael resumed his journey, now more alert to his surroundings. The forest had grown eerily silent, all wildlife seemingly retreating deeper into the woods. Even the usual sounds of insects and nocturnal creatures had faded away, leaving only the whispering of the pines to accompany him. By 9:07 p.m., Michael reached the edge of Whispering Lake, a serene body of water surrounded by ancient trees whose roots twisted dramatically into the ground. The lake's surface reflected the stars above, creating a breathtaking display of light and shadow. However, upon closer inspection, Michael noticed ripples forming in the water without any apparent cause. No wind, no movement, just subtle waves disturbing the otherwise perfect mirror. Realizing he needed to document this unusual occurrence, Michael retrieved his journal from his pack, recording detailed observations about the weather conditions, the behavior of his equipment, and the strange phenomena witnessed throughout the evening. Each entry was methodical, written with the precision expected of a professional ranger. As midnight approached, the forest transformed once again. The whispering sounds intensified, becoming more pronounced and rhythmic, almost like a natural symphony performed by the trees themselves. Michael found himself drawn to a particular area near Echo Point, a spot known for its unique acoustics. Here, the sounds seemed amplified, creating an immersive experience that felt both grounding and surreal. Throughout the night, Michael maintained contact with Station Alpha, updating them on his observations and movements. By dawn, the strange occurrences had subsided, leaving behind only the ordinary beauty of Whispering Pines Forest. Yet, the events of that evening would remain etched in his memory, serving as a reminder of the forest's enduring mysteries and the importance of respecting nature's unpredictable patterns. Forest Ranger's darkest discovery. The early morning mist clung to the dense woods of Blackwater National Forest, shrouding the landscape in an eerie stillness. It was 5:47 a.m. on a Tuesday, when most people in the nearby town of Willow Creek were still asleep. The air carried the damp scent of earth and decaying leaves, creating an atmosphere that felt both ancient and alive. Thomas Reed, a seasoned forest ranger with 15 years of experience, began his daily patrol along Trail 12A, known locally as Shadow Path. The trail wound through some of the oldest sections of the forest, where trees stood like silent sentinels guarding centuries of secrets. Thomas had walked this path countless times, but today, something felt different, almost heavy in the air. As he approached the 3-mile marker, near the bend where Old Man's Creek crossed the trail, Thomas noticed an unusual disturbance in the underbrush. The leaves were crushed, branches broken, as if something large had passed through recently. He paused, listening intently, but heard only the distant call of a barred owl, its hoot echoing through the trees, sending chills down his spine. At 6, 18 a.m., while checking his equipment at the halfway point. Thomas's radio crackled to life. "Ranger Reed, this is Station Bravo. How do you copy?" The voice came through clear, despite the thick canopy above. "Station Bravo, this is Ranger Reed. I copy loud and clear," Thomas replied steadily, though his mind was preoccupied with the strange signs he'd observed earlier. Continuing deeper into the forest, Thomas encountered Mark Hollister, a geologist conducting research on the unique rock formations found in this area. They exchanged greetings, discussing recent geological changes observed in the region. Mark mentioned noticing increased seismic activity beneath the forest floor, though nothing significant enough to cause concern yet. By 7:32 a.m., Thomas reached the northernmost section of his patrol, an area known as Whispering Hollow. Here, the trees seemed to lean inward, their branches intertwining to form a natural cathedral of green and brown. The sunlight struggled to penetrate the thick canopy, leaving the ground in perpetual shadow. It was here that Thomas made his first unsettling discovery.